You're listening to the AID Network.
Hello, friend. Welcome back. Thank you for listening to another Adventures in Design sample from Freedom Week, where we did 10 interviews, 50 questions answered, all about freelance. Today we have Enon Avital on, who has a full-time career, but he's learned how to find the proper space for his freelance time and teaches you how to make sure your clients respect your limited amount of time. Extra work needs to fit in the space you have for it, not take over your life. To hear more of today's episode, make sure you visit AIDpodcast.com. What do you say we get started from episode 2 of Freedom Week? It's Enon Avital on Adventures in Design podcast. Because you do have the full-time job and you seem extraordinary organized with what time that you do have, how did you actually figure out how much more you can give? Because you and I have a working relationship, to fully disclose everything. Enon is helping me work on the reimagined Adventures in Design website because it may need a little bit of help. You be quiet. You be quiet. You have a very, very well organized. You're a very strict person to work with, which I like because I need structure because I'm a fucking cowboy. So for you, how did you figure out how much extra time it was that you had to give?
I killed myself a lot. There have been several years, especially at the beginning, where, like everybody does, I took on too much and ended up hating everything I was doing. I was burning out and I lost sleep. I had to still go to my regular day job every day. So I would stay up late at night, working, barely sleeping. And I hit a point where I had to stop everything. And I basically plateaued because there's only so much someone can take on. And of course, I still had bills to pay. So when I started coming back into it and building up the work that I was doing, I fell into a system where I realized that if I come home, spend time with the family, and then take a little bit of a nap. I have this evening nap. I can do it for 2 hours or so. Then when I come back into work, I have a fresh mind. I'm completely reset. I can work late into the night. I don't have family trying to interact all the time with me, and I have time to just focus and get things done. So by kind of resetting myself and then clearing up the time when I'm basically alone in the middle of the night, I was able to start creating this sort of schedule for myself that I feel better, not losing sleep, and I actually can focus at all the freelance work that I had to get done.
So one of the things that you figured out, because you did it wrong, you figured out I need to have a schedule, right? I need to know how freelance fits into my life so that it doesn't overtake everything, correct?
Oh, absolutely, because I was killing myself and I had nothing to give my family, which at the end of the day is the point of it all.
Right.
So I had to really find that point of structure so I can really formalize what I'm doing and be a human and grow with my family.
Yeah, I would.
What we're doing it all for.
I would think that you might want to spend time with those kids that you're spending so much money on and see how they're growing up. Maybe hear what they're learning at that school. So therefore, you have figured out a schedule that works for you, although it may be a young man's game. You have figured out the pocket to know how much time that it is that you have for your freelance clients. Let's talk about this. When you are a freelancer and you have a day job, obviously you have restrictions. And this is where I see a lot of people, they get kind of weird because they want to seem available. They want the extra work. You've done a very good job of just saying up front, like, look, I have a full-time job. These are the hours I have available. These are when I can do phone calls. Anything else, I can't. How long did it take you to learn to put up a strict boundary and not try to play this like, oh, I'm always available? But then, like, because I've worked with freelancers before that literally would like sneak out into the parking lot to do a phone call with you. And then you're like, do you think we can get the revisions done? I'm like, why am I whispering? I'm not the one who's cheating on my boss. So how long did it take you to figure out this? You already figured out the balance, but how long did it take you to figure out of just being honest with both parties or all three parties, actually, your family, your day job, and your freelance clients, and just letting everybody know this is the hard line when things start and stop.
The family part took a little while to figure out, obviously. It was touch and go, and I had to figure out how to kind of split my time between the two. When it comes to my day job, it still is a little bit tricky. The freelance work that I do, I don't really do any freelance work that's visual design. I only do web design freelance work. And that is completely off radar. It's not something that I can usually even share visually anywhere. So it's just kind of between me and the people I work with. Mm-hmm. And with my clients, from the get-go, I have always operated with full honesty from the start. Every single client, before they started working with me, before we signed the contract, before we even had the first conversation, they knew I'm only available week evenings. Sometimes I can talk on the weekends. This is a side thing. And I have had some opportunities fall through, which is fine because they would have been too much for me anyways. Yeah. Where the clients really needed me during the daytime. So I just didn't take on those sort of jobs. But every single client knew ahead of time. And the interesting thing about the work that I've been doing is that most of the web design work is all word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so everything that I've been getting, any client who referred kind of already even knew this before they came talking to me.
I got a guy, he's a good guy, but he's got another job, so blah, blah, blah. That sort of a setup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I've realized, though, is because you figured out the pocket that you have and you're transparent on the relationship, right? Like that's the number one thing here is that you're transparent with your freelance clients. Like this is how it all goes down. Something that I think that you do that is really important. You don't drag your heels. You start all of your work, all of your projects with a very well thought out contract. And it's not just a contract on who's going to pay who, how much money, but your contract is the way that I loved my contract back in the day, where it's basically an agreed workflow. It's agreed upon script. You know, I'm going to do things in this amount of time. You're going to get back to me in this amount of time. If we agree on this, it'll get done by then. Like the way that your contract is written, obviously it protects you, but it also is a contract of boundaries and expectations and sort of a written out script of how the work is going to flow. That, I think, is one of the biggest things that you could teach other freelancers of, you know, find time to do it, set boundaries, but then have a contract that cements those boundaries.
The hard thing about setting expectations, and you are right, with any contract that I write, especially in the web design world, you have to set expectations because very often you're doing a lot of client education.
Yes.
But the most important thing is understanding yourself first, what to expect out of the entire process. Like you have to be really intimately familiar with all the things that can go on, with all the things that can go wrong, with all the twists and turns, to expect feature creep, which is a big thing in digital design, and to basically plan for all of that. So when you write out the contract, you know all the potential things that can happen. And the only way to really learn a lot of these things is just through experience. It's to know, okay, so here I had, a few experiences where this happened and then B happened and C happened.
Yes.
You write those things back into your contract as safeguards, but you don't write it in, this is what I will do, this is what I will not do. You write it as, hey, here are things to expect. Here's how we'll handle
Our
that.
contract was just like that. It was like every time we got into a sticky situation or someone pulled a fast one on us, we went back and looked at our contract and said, there needed to be a sentence between here and there, and we would patch the gap, and then we would be protected by that. Thank you for listening. To hear more from Freedom Week, make sure you visit aidpodcast.com to hear all 5 episodes, 10 guests, 50 questions answered about freelance. That and 800 other episodes are available at aidpodcast.com. Thank you for listening.